So Raul asks in the chat, what do you think the future of the bear community looks like? And actually, I'm going to piggyback. I'm going to give you a double question. What are y'all doing in COVID? How are you dealing? And what are you planning in the future around that?
Well, I think well, the way we're kind of dealing with COVID is doing things like this. As I mentioned before, we as a group are meeting more often to try to kind of, I think, as a group that's traditionally been used to doing in-person events, and then, also just kind of having what I like to call our feelers out in the community where, we have all of our various members and associate members talking to various people out there. And then all of a sudden, for all that to stop, it's a heck of a left turn to go from being such a hyperly social group, literally, to all of a sudden we have to figure out how to interact through all these virtual ways. So I mean, part of the exercise of trying to adapt is actually, like I said, doing this. This is actually, I think, our first public live event that we've done, and it was a little, it was something of an undertaking to kind of just kind of figure out, how we wanted to talk about the messages that we wanted to convey and how we would share, the knowledge of it out in the community. I think, one of the things that we discussed in our second to last meeting, I believe, is that we actually kind of feel like, well, no matter what happens, we actually kind of want to stick with doing virtual things. Continue doing obviously our physical in-person stuff, but to actually have this out there, because part of the thing, to kind of get at your question, Raul, is that we have a really hard time getting to some of the folks that are not the closest to us. So there's, a lot of folks out there in Western Mass that are always saying, hey, when are you gonna come this way? Or, when are you guys gonna do an event out here? And I mean, logistically, it's kind of tough to, start to do 100 and 125 miles away events. So, I mean, we're wondering whether or not we can use the virtual world to kind of supplement, that to actually reach those folks. And, that's something that we'll just have to, work on to developing that, especially because there's one of the things I noticed in our Facebook group is there's a lot of folks that are out in those areas that are interacting. So we know that they want to talk. It's just a matter of developing the most effective ways to get at them and make sure we can.
Yeah, Sean, we've also had, organizations reach out. For instance, Solutions at Work over in Cambridge came to us and said, it's summertime and we've got, kids and families that are affected by COVID that need supplies. And once again, because of COVID, their supply centers have dwindled. And so, we put out on our page, on our web page, our Facebook page, a link to buy materials and supplies for them, things from diapers to swim trunks for kids, that kind of stuff. Solutions at Work has, once again, they are not an LGBT organization. They are for, homeless and displaced families. And, they came to us. We do the toy drive for them every year. And, it really felt good that they came to us and said, we need some help. And we were able to do that via the web and social media. We were able to help a little bit, not as much as as it would have been nice to, but what Sean was saying is it's nice to be able to do that in-person stuff, but we're learning to use the social media tools and skills as well.
Yeah.
So, we're further on for events, the Mr. Boston Bear, Mr. Boston Cub competition, we have an alternative lined up. We know we won't be able to do that this year. It's always a fun event, watching, having a room full of people and some judges lined up and a stage and music and a couple of performers, and then watching a bunch of hot men go down to bare minimum. It's always a fun night. We know that's not going to happen this year, but we're planning another event to take its place, and hopefully next year we'll be back in business. Same for our boat crews. Hopefully next year we'll be back in business with it, because those are our two big events.
And be on the lookout for more announcements on that, on the event that will replace the Mr. Boston Bear in Cub competition. I think it'll find it interesting. You know, there was another COVID event, the COVID related event I wanted to talk about, and I've lost it. I've lost my train of thought.
Bagley, we wanted to have, you know, once again, a fundraiser for, you know, our Mr. Boston Cup winner this year. I'd said, yeah, let's get school supplies for school-age children. And we're going to partner with Bagley because they're a wonderful organization, and we know a lot of the members of Bagley. And you know, unfortunately this year we can't do an in-person fundraiser. So once again, that's going to be you know, a Facebook Live event, and actually Lex has picked up that torch, and he's going to be, you know, leading that effort later this month or next month.
Mm-hmm. I mean, and the other things that we're doing to try to adapt to, you know, kind of like this virtual world that we're living in, is that also we're trying to kind of work to, I guess the best way to say it is passively raise money, so that folks who want to support our effort can do things like, we now have an Amazon Smile account. So if you go to Amazon and look up Amazon Smile, you're actually able to select Mass Bears and Cubs as a organization you want to support, and a percentage of your purchases, I should say a percentage of your qualified purchases will be donated to us. So, and I mean, it's a very small percentage, but I guess the idea is that if you hop on, and if instead of, when you log in, if you set yourself up for Amazon Smile, what happens is that you'll log in and it will say, hey, you have an Amazon Smile account also. Do you want to log into that and support your favorite charity? So we're doing things like that. The other thing we have going, and again, you'll see more announcements for this, about this later, but we've actually found a merch provider, so which is where this lovely gym, just my virtual background is screwing it up. Oh, there we go. You know, we have merch now, so we have you know, all kinds of things: t-shirt, mugs, hat, and those are actually being done through Bonfire, which is an organization that helps organizations manufacture, you know, their merchandise. But you'll see more about that coming soon. So, I mean, we're trying to evolve in a way that is, I guess, for lack of a better way of saying it, that is not so in person, but that we can still kind of do our activities to help support the organizations that we support. I mean, the volunteer stuff has been really hard. I mean, I think volunteering groups are just now kind of starting to, I know there's been a lot of like social distance and volunteering going on at, I think I heard about a group doing something at the Boston food pantry. Food pantry, is that the right? Is it called?
Food bank.
Food bank, yes.
Yeah.
So I know that those kinds of things are happening. So I'm hoping we can get back to doing some in-person volunteering when it kind of feels, when there's a good margin of safety.
Mm-hmm. I think that the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence did a trash pickup day.
Yeah.
And it's hard to, say on a personal note, in New England, it's hard to imagine what we're all going to start doing as soon as it starts getting real cold.
Right.
So let's just compartmentalize that real quick.